Hello and welcome to the In the Money Media YouTube channel, PTF and Mikee P. Happy to be back with you. I am in the Brooklyn bunker. We are here to talk about this American turf, one of the important races happening in the hours before the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. This video brought to you by our friends at morningline.io. Thanks to them for sponsoring the video. Mikey, I know you've been very involved with Morning Line for some time now, and it's a heck of a busy weekend for Morning Line and this trading platform, new way of betting horses. I assume you're going to be very involved.
Incredibly busy weekend for Morning Line, and this is racing at the top level. I heard someone on Steve Bick today say, I think it was Mark Cassey said, this is like Breeders' Cup in the spring. I mean, these 2 days on Friday and Saturday, this is the absolute top of the sport right now, and you have the chance to own shares of horses that are racing in both days. There's 7 horses racing between Friday and Saturday. You got grade 1 races. I mean, what's better than that?
It's fantastic. And if you want to hear more about those other races, we've got you covered. We're going to have another video where we look at all those races. We're going to find tips. We're going to talk about the Morning Line horses. But, you know, most importantly, it's all about, and I know this is words as true a blue a horse player as ever there was, Mikee P will agree with, all about finding a winner or two.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And speaking of which, let's talk about this American turf. I think it's an open race. I've had a couple of conversations about it already. This is one of the races we talk about. And this show you'll love, Mikey. Just recorded a pro player pod with Sean Borman talking about the Derby Day late pick 5, going through all of these races. And I'll tell you what, if you're a YouTube person, you're out of luck. You got to listen. It's old school. In the Money Players podcast, wherever you get your pods, that's where you can find that. But let's talk about this race. I guess, do you want to, let's each pick a few horses here and go through it. But maybe the conversation should start with who I'm going to call the most famous horse in the bunch, because he turned down an opportunity to run in the Kentucky Derby to turn up here. And that's stark contrast. I think he's probably got the best figures in form, but it's such an open race. I'm wondering if others might offer more value. Where do you stand with stark contrast?
Well, I mean, he's a big player in this race, and he will be the favorite. You see Nick has him installed at 4-1 Morning Line. I think he ends up lower than that because a lot of people are going to gravitate towards him off that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf run where he was very good. He was 58-1 in there, but he was second to Stad, who was the favorite and was supposed to win that race. Since then, nice turf win to start the season. Then they had to try the Jeff Ruby Stakes, right? And raced very well in there over the synthetic. Could have won the Derby, ended up here. It's $1 million purse, so he definitely is a strong contender. Now Pratt comes aboard. Lots of money and weight show up on stark contrast.
For sure. For me, this would be a must-use, and really a must-use as an A even, I'd say. But I still think you might be able, in terms of finding a key, to do better elsewhere. And it might be one gate to his outside for, I suppose he's the house horse for this video because he's on the platform, morningline.io. Blackout Time looked like a major player for the Kentucky Derby with that win, well, really the second in the Breeders' Futurity last fall, where he ran what is this field's highest buyer speed figure with that 93. He's come back on the dirt a couple of times this year, and it hasn't been all we expected, frankly. But this is a horse who looks pretty versatile on his blood, and connections are making the logical decision to reroute him to the turf based on that pedigree with a grade 3 winner on the dam there and siblings who've done well on the turf. He's worked a couple of times on the turf, Mikey. Talk us through your initial thoughts on Blackout Time.
Yeah, I do think Blackout Time is a player in this race just with his class. I mean, to be a grade 1 runner at 2, and then with Derby Dreams, you have to do that whenever you have a horse that has this sort of class to him. The Breeders' Cup due to a vet scratch, but showed up this year and has gone 2 checks and 2 Derby preps. But really, I doubt that this is what they expected coming into this year. This is still a horse that, like you mentioned, has that pedigree for the turf. So why not try his grade 1 class on the turf? There's no huge standout in this race. He's got some speed. He's got some versatility. I think he has possibilities in here. I'd be curious to see what sort of price you get. That 10-1 Morning Line, I think, seems fair. I do think some people will be bullish on him in this scenario. So he is a horse that I think could be very interesting in this spot.
A horse with the fastest figure, bred for turf, 10-1, that's kind of sign me up stuff if that's the price that that materializes. I make him an A. He's the wild card in the pack. It's hard to know exactly what we're going to get. I think we do have a suggestion from his workouts. Obviously, the connections have seen him work on turf now a couple of times, and they've chosen to enter him in this spot. And he's, Kenny McPeak is a horseman who he's not exactly known for switching horses back and forth in surfaces. It's not his bag the way it might be for a trainer like Mike Maker, but he's somebody who has certainly made that move successfully and whose opinion just has to be respected. We see Blackout Time here working out the other day. This is the April 26th work. He's the one on the inside. Looks to me to be going pretty easily here, cruising around there outside the dogs on the turf course, but he's got a nice action. I mean, I'm not an expert at this kind of thing, but it's not one of these actions that doesn't look at home coming down the lane here in the turf course. And it's hard to say, he's not exactly gobbling up ground. He's not being asked to. He's just sort of moving around there nicely. You seeing anything on the tape here to push you one way or the other with Blackout Time?
I think he looks sharp. He looks solid. He's working with another one of the morning line.io horses in Taken by the Wind, who will show up in the Edgewood on Friday. So those two stretching their legs over the grass, and both are going to try the turf this weekend. I thought he looked good. I like his action over the grass. I think he's cruising nicely. He looks ready to roll to me. And looking at that workout, it makes me more interested, especially given his price.
Let's go through a few of the other contenders in this race, at least quickly, and we'll go to one that under other circumstances might be the favorite based on his form. We've got a multiple graded stakes winner on the far outside in the form of number 14, Final Score. Mikey, for me, I decided that I just want to watch him because I just think there's too many questions here, but I'm not going to say he's not a contender. The post among the questions that are being posed by this runner. Where are you with Final Score?
The post, the layoff, just a lot to overcome, especially in this spot where others have more recency. Now, if he improves from 2 to 3, obviously he's right there. I mean, he's never been out of the exact in 4 starts. He has top connections, but I just think where he's drawn in this spot, he's just, given his style, he's going to have to blast off again. We'll see. I don't know. I think he could be underlaid, especially with IRAD in here. So I would probably be against.
Won't be the only time this weekend IRAD aboard one of the ones at the top of the market is going to have to work out a trip from a difficult post, if you know what I'm saying. Let's go 2 gates in to number 12, Remember Mamba. This one, look, you see it right there on the page. Undefeated, grade 3 winner. Looked really good last time. Remember Mamba, not just a hunch play for Lakers fans, but another one that while I have as an A, tricky post, other good ones in here, not necessarily a key either, but clearly going to be on a lot of tickets.
I would be a use. He's a definite A for me. I thought he was impressive last time and took a little while to get going at Keeneland in the stretch. The race didn't necessarily set up for him, but he came flying through the lane. And when he kicked in, it was quite impressive. The Lasix came off last time. He improved the figure. I like him a lot in here, and he's a must-use, I think, on all tickets.
Sounds like could be a top pick. We'll get to those at the end, or any wagering ideas. If you don't mind, scroll back to number 8, a horse called Greenwich Village, a place I used to live. This horse, we talked about a few in this race that there was talk about being involved in the Kentucky Derby. Well, how about this one? He's got an entry in the Derby, the one at Epsom, the original one. That's how much they think this horse could continue to improve. I usually am cutting in line to avoid betting these Baffert runners on turf, though he has won this race on this day before in the past. This one has enough of a buzz, enough of a vibe about him that I may try to keep him on side in some of my betting combinations, but more of a backup for me.
I don't like him, really. I think he's raced well over the grass, and he has had 2 nice closing efforts, but this is a different kettle of fish here, especially when you have these West Coast horses shipping east. I do think the races on the East Coast are tougher. This one's going to have to try to fly late again. I'm not sure he can outclose some of the main contenders in here. I think he's probably underlaid given the Baffert factor. I'm not interested.
Gotcha. Fair enough. You're taking more of a stand. I'm being wishy-washy. That fits our betting personalities. Let's look at number 7, Alpyland, quickly, Mikey. This is another horse I've got right near the top of my consideration for this race. Multiple listed winner. Look at that record. Ignore those dirt races and look at just the turf and how good the form gets. here's a funny little fact on this one from a little digging I did. He's been working well in company with a horse called Web Slinger. Remember him? Won this race for the same connections back in 23. 8-1 Nick has him on the morning line. I think he's a major contender. Are you with me, or you think I'm eating paste in the corner here?
No, I think he's a contender for sure. He'd be a horse that I would use, especially on multi-leg tickets. That race at Tampa was very good. The race at Gulfstream on January 31st, I thought he was a little bit against the racetrack there. So he has some class to him, I think, with these listed stakes. This is a step up, but he has a nice turn of foot. He has the numbers. He's very consistent. He's very proven without Lasix also, which some of these other ones aren't. So he's a horse that at 8-1 morning line, I think should be on tickets.
Time for the rubber to meet the road, my friend. Who is your selection, your idea of the winner, or your wagering strategy in this year's American Turf?
One horse we didn't talk about that I'd like to is the 9 Honey Dutch. This one's 12-1 morning line. It's Whit Beckman, raced very well in the Transylvania. Has raced well versus many of these. If you look at, he's faced horses like Vassy, he's faced horse like Alpyland, has been right there. He's speedy, he's right there. I think he's very gritty in game. He could get the right trip in this race, and he's going to be overlaid again. Remember, Mamba took all he could do to track him down at Keeneland on a day where maybe the front end wasn't necessarily the place to be. I like his value. I think the trip should work out very well for him. Now, he only has 1 win in 8 lifetime starts, but he's right there. He's a horse that I would love to key around in this race.
Yeah, I get what you're saying in terms of your vertical exotics. He does always seem to find one better on the day, to a point where I worry if there could be a little bit of a pack animal character flaw thing going on. But for underneath, a horse who seems to always fire a shot, runs competitive figures, has that tactical speed, good under the radar connections. I absolutely get having this one in the mix at 12-1. I'll be doing plenty with Blackout Time for our friends at morningline.io, mixing him in and around with some of the other horses we're talking about, maybe doing a little bit of a double key type of a situation with Alpyland. Those are two that I would probably put on top, mixing and matching some of the other horses we have around, also having them in second to stark contrast. Remember Mamba and some of the others we talked about on this video. Any closing thoughts for you before we send it home?
It's a fun race. It's always a race that tends to lend itself to an upset. So be not afraid to use some of those prices in this American Turf. And good luck to Blackout Time. If you're interested in Blackout Time, you go to morningline.io. You can get shares right now for $57.67. So I have several shares of Blackout Time. Here's hoping that he can kind of regain that grade 1 form on the grass. And who knows, then you're buying in low and hopefully, bigger and better all year long.
Might end up in at the Breeders' Cup in one of these turf races if everything goes according to plan. It's a fun, new, different, exciting way to bet the horses. And Blackout Time, just one of many morning line runners on the weekend. Make sure you check out our other video too, where we dive into some of those races. Mikey, thanks to you. Thanks to our friends sponsoring this video over at morningline.io.